I got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back, tell me I'm garbage. I'm going through something, that's why I ain't calling. Phone in progression, it's all that I wanted. The phone in affection, I summon and dub it. Cause I got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back, tell me I'm garbage. I'm going through something, that's why I ain't.
Y'all know what time it is. You're listening to the Urban Sports Scene. I'm your host, Wole. It's a special Commanders show. You know, since we didn't do Commanders Friday, so we're doing it tonight. We're doing it tonight on Sunday. But we obviously it's a big topic, and there's topics that popped up, but we'll talk about all that later. But before we get into all that, we gotta knock out some logistics. Subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, and other podcast platforms. Just search the Urban Sports Scene. Make sure you subscribe to the Urban Sports Scene YouTube channel. If you're in the YouTube channel, if you're in the YouTube chat, we accept super chats. Super chats help us support the show. The super chats will be prioritized over all comments. Don't forget to tweet us at Urban Sports Scene. Hit us up on IG and TikTok at Urban Sports Scene, and also like our Urban Sports Scene Facebook page. Also join our Urban Sports Scene Facebook group. Just search Urban Sports Scene, sports bloggers, sports podcasters, and sports debates. All right, let's get into our tradition, the pregame. Here's what we have on tap. Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus. This Commanders reporter Donna Hopkins will jump on to talk about the Commanders' Monday night preseason game against the Cincinnati Bengals. All right, let's introduce Donna into the show. We got Donna. What's good, Donna?
Yeah. The second preseason game, and we get to see the starters.
That's do. What's up. That's the most important thing. Hold on, I got this. Hey, Paul. Yeah, what's up, Paul? Yeah, look, Paul. First off, we want to talk about that. We want to talk about that. What's going on, folks? What's going on, fam? What's going on? We want to talk about that. We want to talk all of that. All of that's going to be in play. But I want to talk about this game first, and before we dive into that topic. The topic Paul is referring to. All right, Donna, you talk about starters are playing. We all know this will be Jayden's first preseason game of 2025. First off, what are you most interested in to see from Jayden on Monday night?
Yeah, I just think him going up against the starters on the other side against their number one starting defense, because I think in practice you get to go up against your defense, and there's nothing wrong with but to go up against an opponent where you have to strategize against them, I want to see how the wide receiver room, which is still open, you got your top receivers that's going to make this team, but it's as Kingsbury told me this week, is that from the wide receiver room is a question mark, and some guys have picked it up and other guys have not. So this is an opportunity to see, as far as Debo going up against that starting defense of the Bengals and the other wide receiver room as far as Jalen Lane and some of those other guys. And then you got the running back room, with Bill and Brian Robinson and Eckler and Jeremy McNichols and even Demetrius Filton. So to see that running back room going up against an opponent and to see how the Commanders' offensive line stacks up as far as protecting Jayden and giving him the time to throw. Now, we know that the offensive line has some key starters still out, as far as Cosme, as far as Coleman. So they've got to go with looking at what they got going up against the opponent. Because you think about this, Wally, this is probably going to be the only game that the starters play in before the regular season game. So I'm hoping that they play for at least a half to kind of like the chemistry, because I think Kingsbury said this week it's hard to kind of like see this offense of how they're going to be until they get all pieces there, as far as the Terry, as far as the offensive linemen that are still out, that you can't really tell what this offense is going to look like, but you want to still see how they jump out there. Jayden in his first game, of the season, regular preseason. And you want to see how everything is clicking with the new parts that they have on offense.
Yeah.
I'm really going to be watching, which I did in the first game, the offensive line and that protection as far as opening up the holes, because I think the offensive line will be much better. Laramie Tunsil, to me, just had a phenomenal day up in New England as far as the joint practice. He didn't play in the game, but he was pushing people out the way. I mean, so I like to see how all of that trickles as far as the offensive line, because let's just say if Coleman isn't ready to go at the beginning of the season, and also Cosme, which we know that's not going to be the case, how are these other guys going to get the job done? And to see that this week, that is key, because Cincinnati has a talented defense.
Yep. A very talented defense. So you mentioned something that I want to kind of harp on since you said it, like they're not going to have some key guys on the offensive line. And Jayden is the prize. She's the prize jewel. It's Jayden Daniels we're talking about here. Would you play him knowing that you don't have all your bullets on the offensive line? Because obviously his safety is the most important thing going into the season.
Hey, Wally, you got to, because going into the season, you may have this offensive line without those other guys. So really, you have to get something under your belt against the opponent to see what you need to work on before that opening first game. So I think that this is a good measuring stick all the way around, because it's not like this offensive line can just be pushed around anyway. I'm talking about a couple of key people though, that's out, but they've got some depth on that offensive line this year that they didn't have last year. So you have to be able to see what you got beyond those other starters that are not ready to go yet, because these guys are going to be able to come in. And this is the great thing about this offensive line is they have people. Connolly, it's good to be able to see him in a game of going up against another opponent, and because he had a pretty good first game, but now to be in there with the starting offensive line to see how they all gel, I think is important at this stage, because again, Wally, you can't worry about Jayden getting hurt, because I think you have to kind of like start building the chemistry of that offensive line and Jayden in a situation where your opponent defense is going to be coming. So you can't play it safe, because you'll go into the first game struggling if you don't get in there.
Do you feel like, this is in terms of a follow-up, do you feel that because of the joint practice with the Ravens was canceled, do you feel like that's the reason why they're going to probably lean towards playing Jayden, or what do you think this was the plan regardless?
Oh, he was going to play, I think, regardless of the Ravens joint practice. That was just going to be an extra thing, because they knew that the starters were not going to play in that last preseason game, because that last preseason game is for those players that are still trying to jar to get on this team. So Jayden was going to play, I think, this week anyway. Gotcha. And then that joint practice was so key, and you could tell that they were disappointed about not having that. But when they looked at the schedule at the beginning, and you had a Monday night game, a primetime game on preseason, and then you had the joint practice the week, and it was going to be a short week anyway. So that to me was going to be hard anyway, to try to trickle and turn things around that quick. But the Ravens would have been a great task.
Paul has a question for you, Donna. Paul says, Donna, how long do you think Jayden will play?
Personally, for me, I hope they play a whole half.
But what do you think, though? What do you really think, though? Do you think? I think he should, but what do you think, though? What do you think they're going to do?
At least probably a quarter. At least a quarter. Because after that, the starters are going to be in there. And let me just say this. It depends on how many times this offense gets the ball in the first quarter. So if it's just a couple of series and stuff, you may see him play maybe a series in the second quarter. But personally, for me, for all the starters, I would like to see them play for a whole half.
Do you think there's a possibility? I know you're right that the last preseason game is typically for the guys who need to make the team. But do you feel like, since it's only 3 games, do you feel like if he plays a quarter, can you see him playing the last preseason game, or you feel like that won't happen at all?
Nah, I don't think that'll happen. The last preseason game, I don't think you're going to see any of the starters go out there in that last preseason game. Okay. I don't think at all, because in the past, it has been that way. Even last year, I don't think that the starters even played in that last preseason game. So that's the reason why I think that this is a key game for even the starters to play in that first half. And whether Cincinnati plays their starters for a half and whatever, I think that this is some of the this game is a game that you can work out some of the kinks that you need to work out and see where you're at going into the season. or because that's the key thing after that New England game is some of the guys that did not perform well on the second team and the third team. You saw a little improvement in this week's practice from some of those guys. So
did you? Okay, that's good.
Yeah, I did see some improvement where, as far as the receivers and the running back room, I thought was pretty good because Jeremy McNichols came in the second half, and he is Jeremy McNichols. He didn't have a drop or anything. Gotcha. He's already elevated his game. But for some of the other guys, I thought Bill Merritt played pretty good in that New England game. But I think that the wide receiver room, that's the room that needed to play much better. Did not. But I saw Ja'Cory Brooks in practice. I thought that he's had a good, solid training camp. And, Chris, with some of the other guys, wide receiver room, even Luke McCaffrey and all of them, to be able to get in there and play this week. And I saw some improvement there. And that's what I was looking at is more of the receivers, because when you look at the receiving room, it's still a big question mark there.
Oh, facts. I totally agree. Who are you got name? Give me a group of them, but who do you felt like improved from what we saw in the first preseason game? Because for me, the guy I thought they needed improvement in camp. Like if you had to say like a guy who needed it would probably be Moore. I thought Moore needed it bad.
Chris Moore. Oh yeah. I was going to throw his name out because Chris Moore. That was a guy that they, were looking at throughout training camp, a big target. Because with this is the thing, Noah Brown is still hurt. Yeah. So, somebody else needs to step up in that room. And Chris Moore, to me, did not play well in that New England game. They were dropping ball. And the other, and I got a chance to talk to Michael Gallup and KJ Osborne this week. And so I think they really like KJ Osborne because he came in late last year and didn't get to be in there really much last year, played more special teams. And this is a guy that they're trying to work in to have more touches. He didn't have a bad New England game, but he had one came off his fingertips. Right there in the end zone. So you got to pull those in. And then Michael Gallup's, again, he had one right in his hand and he bobbled it in the end zone too. So it's important for those two guys in this game to really step up to the next level. I talk about KJ Osborne because he plays special teams. They like him there. And so the wide receiver that can play special teams, that's going to be the guy that kind of like makes his way in here. But I still think that I think that even with the wide receiver room that they got right now, because Noah Brown is hurt, I think that you still need to bring in another wide receiver and look at wide receivers that may get cut from other teams doing the 53-man roster. So I think the Commanders are going to still be looking at wide receivers. Look at Philadelphia up the road. They just signed.
Oh, that's just guys. They traded for Michi. I like that.
Yeah, so they just got better. So that tells you that even Philadelphia with Jahan Dotson, who came in there last year from Commanders and was going to be that third wide receivers, and evidently they're not pleased with that production. So they got another guy. So that Philadelphia just getting better and better, and that's what Washington is going to be looking at heavily, I think, in this game is that wide receiver room. Because let me tell you, Cliff Kingsbury this week, you could see see how upset he was about getting that right and not being able to really put in what they need to because they don't have the bodies yet. And that wide receiver room, as he said, some people are getting it and some people are not. And that's what they wanted to see. And this week is going to be key for whoever wants to get that last spot wide receiver wise.
Yeah, he was mad he only got 17 out. He's mad he only got 17 out there.
He's mad that he ain't got 17, and he also mad that some of those other guys haven't stepped up to the plate yet.
I've been saying it too. I've been saying like that receiver room looks real scarce. So Donna, I mean, this is gonna be Jayden. I mean, Jayden's only performance that most fans will get to see. But how has Daniels looked during training camp? And so, in terms of the leadership and development.
Oh, I mean, you couldn't look at a better guy as far as his leadership. I think that he's even taken another step. you know, when I talked about this before, that if he throws an interception in practice, he's going over to the person who picked him off to say, hey, what did you see there? And I think that helps his growth also. And not only that, if you're not, you know, somebody said earlier on that if you're messing up, you're not calling people out, but he's gone to that next elevation of commanding the offense per se. You know, that leadership you see from a quarterback. And, you know, Jayden's arm is his arm. And I think that as far as how he's seeing the field this year, even better than what it was last year. But I'm curious to see him go up against Cincinnati's defense and how he operates there. I mean, Jayden, to me, I think is going to be a solid quarterback. And I think you're going to see him even better than you did last year because he's had a year under his belt. He's able, and Jayden is so good in reading defenses and then adjusting on the field at that moment. And then even coming back the next game, adjusting to what he sees to improve his game. So, you know, I think they just solid there and whatever. And you know, he's gone up against some good people in training camp because that Commanders defense to me is so much better than it was last year as far as the pass rush, but more so in that secondary. When we talk about the cornerback room with Jonathan Jones, Lattimore is back at the top of his game. Trey Amos, the rookie, has really played well, and Michael Sanders still. Listen, look who I just called out as far as those four guys that can play interchange positions also. But I think looking at Marshawn of what we expected last year or wanted to see, we weren't going to see it last year because he wasn't 100%. But this year, you're already seeing it in camp as far as he's back to top form. And Trey Amos, to me, has played better than people thought. He has caught on quickly. He even told me in that, you know, that joint practice that, I learned that I got to start fast. So I think that he grasped a hold of some things that he could do better in his game, but he's a big cornerback, physical cornerback that can go up. And let me tell you, Lamar Chase, they've got a good task coming on. That's what I'm saying. Higgins, this is going to be a good task for this Commanders defense going up against these top receivers. But I think that they have the room also this year that they did not have totally last year.
I'm just happy, like, and there's no knock on anybody in camp for Washington or even with the Patriots. I feel like if the Bengals are going to play their starters, I think they are, because I think that's the movement that they're doing. That's like the mode they're on. But this is the true test. Like, I like Trey Amos a lot, but this is the real test. Like, you're seeing top, like, you're not seeing Terry in camp. So you don't see number one wide receivers. You're not seeing number one wide receivers. So now we get to, I feel like for him, he's going to truly get to assess himself in terms of where he lies. But when he has to play against a Neighbors or a AJ Brown or Devontae Smith, now this is the test. This is the real test to see how you can see him lining up against those dudes. So I'm excited for him.
And a quarterback in Joe Burrow who moves, who runs like Jayden, and that he's accurate. So this defense has a chance to go up against a top offense as far as their running back with Chase Brown and
Chase Brown,
and then they've got, you know, a solid tight end room. Then they've got Brooks as far as in the backfield. Cincinnati does. So I think that this is going to be a good, and Cincinnati's offensive line is pretty good. So I'm curious to see how Commanders defensive line, which they had a lot of guys that they bought in through free agency, as far as Wise, Goodman, Devontae. I'm looking at Von Miller and all of the guys across the board that they bought in. I really want to see how they go up against this offensive line and a quarterback of Joe Burrow's status. So it's going to be a telltale on the offensive side of the ball and also the defensive side of the ball on Monday night.
I totally agree. Paul, I see your question. And for other folks, I see your question. Some of your questions lie onto a different segment that I have, or question I'm going to ask Donna. So I'm going to play it. I'm going to display it once we get to that point. So I have not ignored your questions. I have it. I know where to place them. Put it that way. Paul asked the question. Said, speaking of wide receivers, Wole, my comment is that the lack of making good moves, not adequate ones. I know he's referring to because with the Eagles, the moves the Eagles made in getting Michi, and how like Washington hasn't really made any moves like that so far this offseason. Compared to like to kind of solidify what they have in their room. When you're talking about Donna, the wide receiving room, right? Trying to look at, because they haven't been happy with the wide receivers. You said about Cliff. Cliff hasn't been happy about them not stepping up. And when you see a deal like the Eagles for Michi, like what you're talking about, like, yeah, you get kind of frustrated as a fan.
It's two different situations than the
Go
Eagles.
for it. Go for it.
So you can't look at that the same way because we've had this Terry situation all off, the start of OTAs and up until this point. So it's not like they're displeased with their number one wide receiver, unlike the Eagles were displeased with their third receiver. So Washington is not in that same category. But now looking at the wide receiver room, you first got to get Terry back on the field. And then you address the next step as far as those wide receivers in looking at and I constantly say this, Noah Brown was brought here last year, late because, when they had the cut downs from the teams and whatever, he was available. It's going to be some receivers available that will be able to possibly be looked at. The thing about that is you're not going to have to pay them a lot. You're probably going to bring them for 1 year like you've done many of these players. First thing for the Commanders, unlike Philadelphia, they already got their 1 and 2 there. They're solid wide receivers there. We still don't have that one person in camp yet, and them taking him off the PUP list, it was key. And hopefully this week he'll be signed where they can gradually bring him along these 2 weeks so that by the time that first game is, he'll be in football shape. He may be in physical shape, but football shape is totally different, and that's when you end up getting injured if you don't bring them about slower. So unlike Philadelphia, Washington just has to get their number one receiver in here first before they even look even further, because you don't know what the dollar amount actually is going to be to get Terry in the door. And then you look at from this game right now, because Noah Brown is hurt, so he may not even be ready for that first regular season game. So after you get Terry in here, that's when you can start looking at some other guys possibly that you can bring in here. But remember, the Commanders are not just looking at the wide receiver room. They're looking at this team in general. And as Kingsbury said, we can't really look at the offense to say what we're going to look like or if they're clicking until we get some of those starting offensive linemen back in here and then your star receiver.
George has a question for you, Don. It says, Don, if the wide receivers play poorly tomorrow night, would that cause a movement in the McLaurin negotiations? I think they're already working on it.
Well, I think that the other day when we were in practice, I think that's already going to be done Saturday. I think that it's already talks being discussed to bring Terry in here by having him come off that PUP list. That was the opening of the door somewhat right there. Now to get it signed, sealed, and deliver, I think that there's still some ways apart, but I think that they're working towards getting him in here as soon as possible because the clock is ticking really fast at this point.
I think it's ticking tremendously. All right.
No, while it's going around like this.
All right. Yeah, I know it is, Donna. You know what? I want now I'm gonna get y'all folks. I know B-Rob. So obviously I want to mention this. And I'm gonna put you in the back real quick. I'm gonna apologize to some folks. So it's gonna be real quick, Donna. Watch how I do this. You'll see me. All right, hold on. I'm gonna remove Donna and I'm gonna put here we go. All right. So first off, I just got the news. I got the news. So I seen it earlier before we started this show that B-Rob, the rumor is that the Commanders are trying to trade B-Rob or interested in trading B-Rob. I know I came out here and was like, they ain't gonna happen. They ain't nothing. That's fake news in the past about B-Rob not being the starter here. You know what? If the reports are true, I apologize to the folks I called out and said, you know what, y'all was wrong. Y'all were geeking, this, that, and the other. I told you I'm a real one. So I can tell you, I can come up on this show. Out of all that, me saying Bill ain't starting, this, that, and the other. If Bill starts officially, you won't get another full screenshot. And this is going to happen again. You know what I mean? But I'm saying, I'm going to say this. If the rumors are true, I apologize. I was wrong. I can say I'm wrong. You know what I mean? If I'm right, though, if it comes down B-Rob starts at the beginning of the season, I'm going to come back and do another full screen and say I was right. But you know what? If the reports are true, I'm cool with saying that, y'all were right and I was wrong. It is what it is. All right, now I'm put Donna back on because I just wanted to make sure I addressed everybody out here in the chat so y'all didn't think I was phony because I'm a real one. Here we go. All right. Now Donna's back. There you go.
Hey, Wally, I gotta jump in here on that one because the thing about it is, I think that's immature a little bit because the thing about it is it's just a rumor, possibly, and you know how rumors, come up and everything. This is the reason why I'm concerned about the rumor is that looking at the running back room and everything. Unless you can get another running back in here, and everybody is putting a lot of stock in Bill Merritt, and he does look good. He's a rookie that has come in here and played well. I've seen him through OTAs, and up into training camp, and you can just see he's going to be a great runner. But Brian Robinson brings to this team what Bill does not bring is experience in the NFL system. And we know that getting into a real game when it counts most is very different. Now, unless they've got a running back in this room, which if you do trade Brian Robinson to another team, you better have another back to come in here to go along with these backs because Austin Eckler has been injured prone a little bit last year with the concussion situation. We know that he was out last year. And then I don't think that Bill Merritt can carry the whole load because he's a great runner. He's got talent. You can just see that there. But Brian Robinson is a bruiser. That's a different runner than Bill. All of them, the running back as far as Eckler, Bill Merritt, Jeremy McNichols, who can play both roles some because that's what Kingsbury said last year. And then you've got Demetric Felton. And I don't know where Rodriguez fits in, but still, are you confident to let Brian Robinson go when you haven't seen them in this offensive lineup yet in a regular season game going up against starters? You'll be able to see that this week. So we know that the running back room was a question mark last year. So any discussion, and I'm sure that they are trying to maneuver some other angles and whatever, if this is true. But I'm not sold on you getting rid of anybody in the running back room until you see really what you got on the field, not by name or whatever, but the production on the field, which you're hoping to see that tomorrow.
Paul. Yes, Paul. I'm gonna mention your name, Paul and Mike. If the reports are true, I apologize to both of you. I can say that I can be a bigger human being and do that. I have that type of energy in life.
Hey, but Wally, I can see why you say no way yet. And I would still say no way in the beginning when you all started talking about this or early before, training camp even started. People were saying, oh, Brian Robinson is going to be traded or whatever. But guess what? He's still on this team. He hasn't been traded yet. And so, if you were going to trade him or look at that, you would have probably did that early on. But now we're into the meat of training camp, headed into the season, and we are unsure about a lot of things on this team. They have gotten better in some areas, but you got to see how this running back room does with this new offensive line. And I think that that's really why I say I'm not buying the Brian Robinson situation yet about them trying to trade him or working the deals and whatever, because the main thing that they need to focus on is the wide receiver room, not the running back room, because that's the area that to me has still a lot of question marks until you get number 17 back in here. And even with Mr. 17 back in here, I mean, I think they'll be pretty good because you got Jayden Lane, who I think that is going to play well. This is going to be able to help that because they had him playing this week in practice as far as slot and also downfield, both him and Deebo Samuels. So I think that you still have to see what you got there. And like I said, the running back room does not concern me as much as the wide receiver room does.
Okay, yeah, I agree. Nah, he didn't. Oh yeah, Donna, do you think Terry will play? No, Terry's not playing tomorrow.
No,
No,
Terry's not playing tomorrow.
no, yeah,
Look, he ain't even been in practice.
Terry.
You think that they would put him out there without being in practice? You're
Yeah,
asking for an injury to come about.
yeah, Terry playing
So
tomorrow.
no way. I don't even think Terry will be playing until the regular season once they sign him.
Yeah,
Not even in the last preseason game.
but to
And
back to be,
that's only because Terry already knows this offense, and him and Jayden have played together for a year. So it's not like he's got to get to know the quarterback. He's just got to get his timing and all of that back together with this group.
Do you think that? I mean, I'm gonna go back to the B-Rob thing real quick, and we'll go into the next. We'll go back to the game. But in terms of it being 1 year left on his deal, like there's like I don't think they're going. Personally, I don't think they're going to re-sign him. I've said that before. I didn't think they were going to re-sign him after this season, regardless of what he did. That was just my opinion. Do you feel like that plays a part, knowing that I'm not going to let him go for nothing? Like we can just get rid of him, like and get something in return, or do you think just like Jahan, like, or do you think on the flip side, if they can't get a deal done, does he stay on the roster? Do they cut him? What do you think? What is your vibe? I want to know your opinion.
No, I think he's under contract no matter what and whatever. I mean, you're not going to just give up a solid wide receiver like Terry. I mean, teams would want to.
I'm talking about. Sorry, not Terry. I'm talking about Robinson, B-Rob. Do you feel like would they cut B-Rob? Or
no way. I still think no. Okay. I mean, because I'm sure teams would want to sign a Brian Robinson also. So you're not cutting any player, just giving him away, because Brian is still talented and he still can help a team. I think that he still can help this Commanders team. So he's going to be, like you say, he's under contract, another year. So they're not just going to say, hey, and get nothing for him. Yeah. So still, I just don't see it happening. I could be wrong and whatever, but to me, I think the running back room, you can go with that group this year because you got so many other areas that you need to look at on this team to make sure that it's solid. So I think with this offensive line that you got this year, that you added and made better, that the running back room should be better also. So why concentrate on that unless you're trying to work a deal to get a Trey Henderson and you would have to pay him a lot of money for him to come in here. And I don't know if he's at this stage, but hey, he is top notch defensive lineman. So, but still, what you would have to give up for him and what Cincinnati would probably be asking for him. And then also the money that you would have to pay him. And you look at next year when you got to pay some guys and re-sign them. So I think that the key thing for this Commanders team right now is to get number 17 back on the field and not worry about that running back room.
I'm with you. I'm answering this question. Is B-Rob worth a comp pick? I don't know. That's a good question. I don't think so, but who knows?
Yeah, I'm not for sure.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm not sure. But yeah, let's go back to this game. So, I think you already talked about. Terry. You don't think? All right. So, what would you be? All right, for terms of not Terry and Jayden, what would you be looking for out of Jayden? Like, are you looking for him to be accurate? Like, what are you looking for out of Jayden?
Yeah, I'm just looking at how he connects with the receivers that is going to probably start the season. I like to see how Jalen Lane and even Debo is used in the offense and how he connects to those guys. I'm looking at his reads also to the backs coming out the backfield, and in general of him being able to pick maybe their defense apart in the secondary, and just as far as how much he has to run with this offensive line. Is it less this year than it was last year? I'm just looking to see how he has elevated his game in for this season, but I'm really looking at how he connects with the receivers, being that's the area that I'm watching pretty close of the starting quarterback going up against the wide receivers that's going to be starting during the course of the season. How does he really connect with those guys as far as his reads, them being where they're supposed to be, and even with the tight end, his security blanket is always a Zach Ertz. And everything. And even with some of the other tight ends that may play in that game, but I'm looking at how the operation with the passing game is with what they got right now, because this may be what they got outside of Terry. So you want to see how comfortable he is with getting the ball to those guys under a different kind of pressure.
Nah, I want to see a lot. I want to. I'm with you. I want to see the accuracy. I want to see the timing. I think it's important for honestly. I think it's important for we're talking about Lane. I think it's important because we didn't get to see a lot of them out of him, and not his fault because of quarterback play and what was going on.
And he wasn't going up against he wasn't getting the ball thrown to him by the starting quarterback.
That's what I'm saying. Like he wasn't getting the ball, getting the attempt. So I think it's going to be. I think this is good to see with Jayden, knowing the type of quarterback he is. I think it's important to have him working with Jayden just to see what we have with him.
Even with Debo, because he didn't play a season with Debo, so I want to see. We've seen it in practice, but I want to see it in real game time speed as far as Debo coming across the middle, even if they use him going down the field sideline wise, or and Jayden Lane with the speed because he is fast. I want to see how accurate and him and Jayden connect on the long balls and everything. That's going to be key also. So I want to see how how this Commanders offense is in the red zone, because they worked on the red zone a lot in training camp. And so I like to see exactly how they operate in that red zone. And the other area that I haven't even touched on is the kicking game.
Are we going to talk about that, Donna?
Too.
We're going to talk about all that, Donna. We got stuff out there for you, Donna. But I mean, we talked. All right, I
was just thinking out loud to myself that's an area that I want to see too, because I think that may be a concern too.
No, you know what? Because you went there before we I want to talk about the defense, because I do have questions about that and them being tested, and we kind of tackled it a little bit. But let's go over the kicking game. Obviously, we've heard a lot. I feel like I've heard mixed reports about the kicking game. Like some people say, "Oh, he's okay. He had a real solid beginning," and all of a sudden now folks we're starting to get some people coming out and saying like it's been inconsistent, it's been a little erratic. So, from your vantage point, like, you say you want to see the kicking. What do you want to see out of the kicking game? Is it like you want to see Gay accurate on kicking 50-yarders, 40-yarders? Like, what do you want to see out of him?
Oh yeah, I'm saying that you have to be consistent 40, 45, and at least 50. And I think I haven't seen that enough yet. Is that consistency from 40 and because. I mean, I looked at the New England game. I was like, "Oh, the kicking game got to be key." And and I'm looking at special teams in general, because of not just the kicking game, it's the coverage too. Because we can remember New England; those were starters in there too for special teams. But I think that I want to see this week as far as what they're going to do as far as their coverage and all of that. But the kicking game is the thing that I'm looking at too. Is how consistent is he's from 50? That should be money in the bank to me. 40. Look at me. I ain't. As far
50 got to be money in the bank. 50 back in the day used to be tough though, Donna. 50, I ain't gonna lie.
No, but 50 to me is supposed to be made by whomever it is.
Okay.
Because most of your field goals are going to be from at least 50 or 52. But I mean, you ain't gonna get and even the 40s. But I just think that from 40 to 52, you've got to be consistent, because that is going to be where you're going to be kicking at a lot during the season. And if they're not confident in there, you're going to see them going on fourth down a lot, which they did that anyway last year. But still, maybe they did that because they weren't sure about their kicking game. And we went through that last year. So I just think that for the kickoff, as far as the field goals and everything, I've got to see some consistency from going into the season where I'm saying, oh yeah, he's money in the bank. And I'm not there to say he's money in the bank yet.
It's crazy. Like first off, this is why I love Donna so much, because I always tell folks, like, if you want somebody who ain't easy on the team, you go to Donna. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, some folks I'll be having on here, I ain't gonna lie, they're easy on the team. I ain't gonna name names. But Donna in general is never easy on this team. That's what I love about Donna. It's like when she see it and she don't like it, she gonna let you know. But
to prove me wrong, I'm only reporting about what I'm seeing and everything and the concerns. But Coach Quinn was asked about the kicking game. Were they looking at bringing in another guy? And he said, not right now. Okay, so listen at this. Not right now.
Not right
but
now.
It's not saying that it's not a possibility. So I think that he's right there where I'm at. Let's see how this materializes that, this week, next week, because we know he's going to be kicking for the next 2 weeks. And then we look at that. So you got to be, any field goal. Look, Wally, last year across the NFL, the kicking game was one of the worst in the league that I've seen in a long time. Across the league, up in Baltimore, that was you had your top kicker, but he was going through a whole bunch of other things. But they were a disaster, not just in Baltimore. Across the NFL was the first time that I saw the kicking game be so bad with various teams. So that to me is, wait until these next 2 preseason games tomorrow. Let's see how he kicks and so forth when the real pressure is coming at you.
Mike said, Miss Donna, what do you personally see in Luke's improvement or not? Luke McCaffrey.
I think that to me, I think that he still needs to get better. I don't know if he stepped up enough this year because I think that Ja'Cory Brooks has outplayed him in training camp. I think Luke has talent and everything, but even they said at the beginning of the OTOs and whatever, I asked about Luke and everything, and Coach Quinn and even Kingsbury said that they have saw elevations in his game, and that was there. That was there doing OTAs where he's picking up things a little better. He understands the process a little better. But still, you have to go out there and put it all together. And he has been nicked up a little bit because he didn't get to play last week in the game. So I can't really say in a game situation.
He did play a little bit. He got sick, right? He
got sick. So we didn't get to see enough of him in that situation. And I think that's the reason why I said the wide receiver room is wide open. And these next 2 preseason games, because he'll probably play, in this one and the last one. But I think that his game needs to take another step also because I think that, like I said, Brooks has really had a solid camp, more so than some of the other guys. And I don't know who Kingsbury was saying when I asked him about how did he see the running back room. The wide receiver room. And he said some have gotten it and some haven't. So I don't know who those some haven't are.
Again, this is why I love Donna so much because you just get the real. But I'm not going to lie. But so, all right, I'm gonna ask this question. I don't think it's a possibility, but if he continues to trend this way, it's not possible for Luke McCaffrey to get cut, though, right? That's not a possibility, right?
I just think the verdict is out on everybody in the wide receiver room.
Wow. Okay.
Because last year when everybody was talking about Jahan Dotson was safe and whatever, they said, oh, man, one of my colleagues said, he's the number 1 draft pick. I said, nobody is safe, no matter if they were a number 1 draft pick. And a couple of days later, guess who was gone? Jahan Dotson. Right. So, again, I think that Kingsbury is looking at who can handle the next steps as far as the wide receiver room. And because he has not seen that across the board, like I said, anybody, it could be anybody, because look at this. They said competition from the beginning to the end. And you may have been on here last year, but you may not be on here this year, because if somebody comes up and beats you out, guess who they're going to go with? They're going to go with that guy because it's all about competition. So I think it's important for Luke to be I think that we saw flashes of Luke last year in some games that he did play in, and then it's almost like he disappeared in the second half of the season, only probably because of the wide receivers that they had in there. I don't know what that situation was, but I think it's important for all of the wide receivers beyond Jayden Daniels. I'm between outside of Jalen Lane. As far as Deebo Samuels and Noah Brown is still hurt. I think take out those 2 and everybody else needs to step up and play. So I think that that's the key thing is that, across the board, KJ, like I said, KJ Osborne trying to make this team as far as Michael Gallup and all of them. I think that beyond those players that I mentioned that definitely will be on this roster, every other receiver has to show what they can do in these next 2 weeks.
I agree with you. I totally agree.
I would say that nobody is safe right now.
No, I totally agree with you. So I'm gonna ask you this question because folks who watch this show and consistently know that I was a fan of Dyami Brown. Like I thought what Dyami did towards the end of the season was special. Do you think they made a mistake by not trying to bring him back?
Nah, I don't know because I think that they weren't going to pay him maybe what he was asking for.
Okay.
And I like Dyami Brown too. I thought he stepped up and made some plays towards the end of the season, even more so. Yeah. I think that right now he would probably help this team, but I think that they were willing to move on with what they had, and Jayden Lane should be able to take Dyami Brown's place. And the thing about Lane is that he can play multiple roles. He had better speed than Dyami Brown. Dyami was, to me, I think that, once he started grasping the offense a little bit more, and as he said, really working even harder, you saw that. But I think that the Commanders just did that they wanted to move on from Dyami. And Dyami got paid. So, he told me last year that he did want to come back, but it's a business. But again, I think that Jayden Lane, what they've got in him, that they should be able to move on from Dyami Brown and be better. Because if you keep Dyami Brown, then maybe you don't get a Jayden Lane.
True. Good point.
Yeah. So I think that money is always the trigger in here for either staying or moving on. And I'm not mad against anybody because you may have not got the money here. And as Dyami said, it's a business. And we well know that with what's happening right now in the wide receiver.
The only reason I say that because even with the money that Dyami got, it was wasn't a lot to me. Initially, it wasn't when I saw it. So I was like, all right, well, it probably a lot for Washington what they're willing to pay, but it wasn't in the terms of the wide receiver market. It wasn't something super crazy for a 1-year deal because it's a 1-year deal. And I was thinking to myself, all right, well, I think Washington could have afforded that deal. But to your point, it's still money.
But maybe in their assessment, they were looking for something else.
Yeah, I agree.
As far as a player now that you bring in, you groom in your system. Dyami was here before this new regime took place. And so therefore they're looking at how do we build this team to be better so that we not only just go to the championship game, but we end up in the Super Bowl and winning one. So you're looking at this team try to build this roster for the last year, this year, so that in the next year or so, possibly, that they could be in that Super Bowl, but they have to put the right pieces in place. And I think that that's what this team is trying to do.
I totally agree with you. All right, so I want to go to the defense now we can talk about the unit I want to talk about.
In the trenches, let's go.
Trenches. All right, they're facing Joe Burrow and the Bengals. Even in the preseason, it's a good test for the Commanders' defense, in my opinion. What should fans watch for this matchup? What should they be tuning in for this matchup? Washington's defense versus this Bengals offense.
I think the pass rush and the run defense, because last year the Commanders had problems stopping the run, and they're going to play against some great running backs throughout the course of this regular season. But I think that so when we look at last year and we look at what did they need to improve on from last year to this year, as far as a consistent pass rush, getting to the quarterback, which I didn't think they did quite well last year. So I'm looking at adding, the pieces that they have added now, the Von Millers, the Kinlaws, and all of those guys, Goodman, Wise, and all of that. Those are the new names. And then also Johnny Newton in his second year, how is he going to shape up? So all of those names I mentioned, I'm looking to see how different is that pass rush this year, because you got a quarterback and wide receivers that you're going to have to get to him, and he's a good measuring stick. This game is a good measuring stick for the Commanders defense that's going to be facing quarterbacks that, like, they got Kansas City this year. So you got Patrick Mahomes, as far as he doesn't run like Jayden and Joe Burrow, but he does move around. And so how is this defensive front better this year with those added bodies, as in pass rush? And also the next line is stopping the run. We saw even last week in that first preseason game, they still did do a good job of stopping the run. So this week I want to see how, as far as the linebackers, which, how they come up and stop the run, and those safeties. And again, I'm looking at the secondary too, from the front of the defense to the secondary. The Commanders have added new bodies across the board in the safety room. The safety room, I think, is so strong too. Will Harris, you got Quan Martin, and
Percy Butler.
Percy Butler. So I think that they've got some good guys as far as that a safety, and I want to see how they stack up going up against tight ends and stopping the big tight ends, which is always a problem for teams across the NFL. And then, like I said, the second tier. So if the defensive front can get more pressure up front, that secondary with, like I said, Marshawn Lattimore and, Mikey and Trey Amos and Jonathan Jones won't play because he's hurt. But I want to see how those guys stack up, because they've got a good measuring stick against the Cincinnati Bengals. When you look at that wide receiver room, which we already talked about, Lamar Chase is one of the top wide receivers. He's big, he's fast, he's physical. So how would the Commanders stack up against a wide receiver like him? And then T. Higgins, you gotta look at him, and then you got they've got a good. This is a good game for Washington's defense on all fronts, stopping the run, putting the pressure. You got a quarterback that likes to run, and he's got a solid arm. So this is going to be show where those new people that you added to this defense, how are they going to stack up? Is this defense going to really be better by what we see this week? And I think that this is a good game, being that, when they play that first regular season game, and they've got some wide receivers that they got to deal with.
No, I agree. They got, like, Joe Burrow is one of the best. Like, he's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. Been to the Super Bowl. And like you mentioned, you got Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Brown in the backfield. Like, this is the best test for Washington. Like, in terms of all the talk about can they stop the run, you got Brown, who's a rookie last year, who had a really good rookie year, and now in his second year. So you have you're playing against a solid running back. Then you got a wide receiver core that is one of the best wide receiver tandems in football, maybe arguably the best wide receiver tandem in football. Then you got Joe Burrow, who's top three quarterback who can do it from the pocket, and if you bring him pressure, he can run as well. He is this is the most complete offense we've seen. I mean, that this unit has seen and throughout this preseason, even if this team is going against themselves in training camp. And we saw this Monday night last year, right, where it was hard to stop this offense last year. Even though Jayden was so great and Washington's offense was so great, going back and forth with the Cincinnati Bengals. So I just feel like, to your point, Donna, this is a great test for this defense. I know Paul had a question about Tyler Owens. He said, Donna, how is Tyler Owens doing? I know the last game he had tackles. He missed tackles last game.
Yeah, I mean, he was out earlier. He was injured, and he was back on the field later on this week. So I'm looking to see really how he comes in. I mean, they like him. I think that this is a physical guy. I mean, tackle-wise, that was something the Commanders were pleased with in that first game. You got to wrap your hands around the body. I mean, tackling not only Owens, but across the board was not good. So I think this week is key for just him also, because they really, you think about what Tyler Owens, what they saw in him last year, and really to be able to come here this year and really show his skill set is going to help that room right there. So I think this is key for him to be back to stay healthy. And I really want to see Jordan McGee get healthy and everything.
Yeah,
again,
I want to see him play.
Because he was back out there this week, but he is such an added asset to that linebacker room that they really like. But the key thing is to stay healthy. And like last year, he got, hurt during training camp, and he was having a solid training camp. Again, this year, a solid training camp. So I really like to see him get back on the field, in these next 2 preseason games. I'm not for sure if he's ready to go to tomorrow.
I wish he would.
Yeah, I don't think he's ready to go tomorrow, but definitely, hopefully by next week in that last preseason game. Again, the last preseason game with the Baltimore Ravens is going to be good because even their second string team and whatever is pretty good.
Yeah, they play. I mean, I did something. The issue I was talking about, even people talk about this preseason, but. And and a lot of starters weren't playing. The Ravens just play with a different type of zest in the preseason compared to others. And it doesn't, even the guys who aren't going to make the team or guys who don't have a chance to make the team. There's a culture of the way they play. I feel like everybody plays it the same way. And I'm with you, Don. I feel like because of that energy, it's a good test for the guys who are trying to make the team because you're gonna have to match that energy, right? You're going to have to try to match that energy.
Definitely, and I think that across the board, the Commanders are still looking at key players that they thought that would step up that may not have stepped up yet, and they just need to see a little bit more from some other guys that might still be on their radar. So I think that this is such a key game for those players that's still trying to jar to make this team. But for the first team offense and defense, this is such a good task for them going up against the Cincinnati Bengals because the Bengals give you everything that you would possibly want to work on from the offensive line going up against a good defensive line of the Bengals and then a good offensive line of the Bengals for the Commanders to see where they stack up there. And then the secondary has, to go up against that offense of the Bengals and then vice versa. For the Commanders to go up against, the Bengals defense of seeing where you stack up because the Bengals defense, they got Stewart, their defensive end. When I look at the room, I'm going through the room right now. They've got a good. Cincinnati is always to me had a good defense and offensive line. So I think, this is going to be a great task for the Commanders all the way across the board. And a lot of things are going to be probably answered a little bit more of where this team really is at this stage with, regular season just around the corner. But I just think that the first couple of weeks of the season is just sloppy play because you have cut down from the preseason game.
People don't play. Yeah, I agree.
That's why most teams are having the joint practices to get in a little more practice time against an opponent. So therefore, across the board is that the first part of the season, maybe the first 3 weeks, you'd be like, oh man, what's going on?
Football.
And I think that teams are still trying to get their offense in and for the regular season of what it's going to look like. But the Commanders still have some areas to address that they want to see this coming Monday night. And the fact that prime time, I guarantee you, this game is going to be watched by a lot of people because most people, I don't even watch preseason, but I guarantee you because of the two teams and with the two quarterbacks that's going up, a lot of people going to be watching this game at least the first half.
Oh, everybody watching Joe Burrow and Jayden. If Jayden's playing, this is going to be the ratings are going to go crazy. I'm telling you, it's going to go crazy. My man Cam had a question for you, Don. He said, it's going to lead us to our next question. He said, Donna, which player you have your eye on for tomorrow's game? Like, which player do you have your eye on for tomorrow's game?
I think that on offense, not so much Jayden because I think Jayden is Jayden. But I want to keep my eye on Jalen Lane on offense to really see how he is going up against an opponent. Okay. And as far as coming across that slot, going up downfield and everything, and how he just picks up things. So I think because of me looking at the offense, I want to look at him, and also I want to look at Debo. I mean, we've seen Debo because he's a veteran, but I haven't seen him in this offense going up against an opponent with Jayden Daniels. So those are the two people on offense. I'm really, and see, it's not one player. It's like I'm looking at that running back room too. Is how much better are they going to be? I'm going to be looking at all the running backs tomorrow. And then I want to see Laramie Tunsil as far as on that side and the right and the left side as far as how the blocking is. So I'll be looking at that. And then on the defense end, I just think I'm going to be looking across the line as far as what kind of pressure. So it's not one player I'm going to be looking at. I'm going to be looking at that whole defensive line across the board. Of how they stop the run, how they put the pressure. And then I want to see the lockdown corners of all of them as far as Trey Amos, Monshawn, Mikey, and all of them. So I want to see that whole backfield. And then the safety room too, because, they've got a Will Harris in there now. And I want to see how they all kind of like click together. So those are kind of like the areas, not so much players, but just areas of how they just come together as a team. And, and the tackling, I'll be watching that very closely. And just, how the, in practice, sometimes I see them shutting down receivers or whatever, but I want to see, as far as the matchups with the corners to the receivers. So those are the areas that I'm going to be looking at, not so much, per se players, but maybe like I said on offense, as far as just Lane in there and then Debo in a real game situation. And then that, like I said, that running back room of who the Commanders are going to have in that backfield, giving most of the work when the starters are in.
All right, my man Mike has a question for you, Donna. Before I go to my next question, it says, Miss Donna, how do our new nose tackle look? How is he looking like out there, and will he make the team?
The nose tackle, I haven't watched all of them enough, because that's the reason why I say I want to really, I watched them in practice, but I really want to watch them in games. That's when I can kind of like tell a lot about the team is in a game situation like this. Even though, they're going up against, defense, offense here, great players, but it's different when it's a game situation of how they materialize. So ask me that, in the next couple of weeks, about my thoughts there, about that.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's how I don't like. I tell people all the time, I don't like judging nose tackles. I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't like judging. I've learned this. I don't like judging Washington's defensive line against folks they practice against. Because every time, like when someone say like their defensive line looks so good in practice, and then they go in the regular season against another opponent's offensive line, it's like,
and they know each other too
well.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I hate.
So that's the reason why I really try to. I can assess some things in training camp about who's catching balls, who's not dropping balls.
Yeah, exactly. That's easy.
All that. But when you're talking about offensive line and defensive line, it's when you see an opponent like they got this week. Yeah. That's when you kind of like watch how things materialize.
Agreed.
And that's the reason why I don't really assess that until I'm in a real game situation.
Yeah, agreed. I agree with you.
I'm just trying to be fair with the players and not calling what I don't see.
Yeah, I agree, Donna. Like I feel that I say that all because that's why. Yeah, all right. I like Trey Amos a lot. I'm gonna let that. I like what I saw for even college film before. Like once I saw they made that draft pick and I went to look him up, I liked what I saw. But then it's like, all right, when people say like he's locking so and so down, I'm like, no disrespect to some of the dudes that I've heard that he's locking down. But again, that's not on the same level of another wide receiver. Like if he doesn't lock that dude down, I think they would be in trouble. Like if you told me that Trey Amos was having issues with Terry McLaurin, I'd be like, okay, that's understandable. If Trey Amos is having issues with some of the other dudes other than like Debo, then I'm gonna scratch my head and go like, oh, that's not supposed to happen. He's supposed to lock those dudes down. So I'm like, all right, so that's when I'm like, where I'm at. So I'm to your point. Like when you go against somebody else, though, when you're going against, say, the tougher wide receivers that you're not in the game, all right, those are good tests. Or if you're going against a tougher offensive lineman in the game as a defensive lineman, that's a good test. On the flip side, if you're offensive lineman, you're able to block, say, one of the better deep edge rushers or interior or defensive tackles, then we know, okay, you're going to be okay.
Yeah, but this is the thing too. Even in practice, even in training camp, that's where you start putting pieces together, no matter who you're going up against.
Yes, I agree.
This is where you work on your technique and all of those things. And then when you get into a regular season game, you can kind of like put it all together. So my thing is, you're in the NFL, whether you're not going up against the top receivers like a Terry McLaurin and all that, you still have to work on your game overall as far as the players that are there. So if you're shutting down, and then it's almost like you're reading the defense, you're reading the quarterback. Look, they got Jayden Daniels. It doesn't get any better than that. So as far as the secondary, you got a quarterback of his caliber and what he's able to do. You're really able to work on your game over across the board so that when you do go up against that next tier of wide receivers, you already working on that. What I do like is how they jam the wide receivers up front. I thought that in the past, the Commanders for the longest played too far off. It's almost like, give me 5 yards, give me 10 yards. And I think that what I saw from Trey Amos jamming you, he's like, as I say, toilet paper on your shoe. That's what you want as far as your coverage. I had to use that analogy.
I like that one. I like it.
Get it loose.
I like it. I like that one. All right, Donna. So which Commanders players have the most to gain from a strong showing against the Cincinnati Bengals?
I think the wide receiver group, because I think that's the area that they still want to see step up. And I think the running back room too, if it's these rumors that are floating out there, I think that you want to look at that. But I still think that where the most gain is that offensive defensive line. What do you really have there? And I think that because you got so many moving pieces still there, and when you think about the defensive line and all the players that you bought in here, they should be better. That's all that I've been hearing from the coaches and whatever, that they are better. So I want to see that. I think that you gain a lot by really seeing what you got there. You wanted a Von Miller as far as the pass rusher too, is can they really get to the quarterback? Can they really put that pressure up front? Can they be the bullies and not be bullied? So that's what I think that as far as the gaining, but I think because they're still trying to see what they got in the next outside of the starters, wide receivers, that a lot of those guys can kind of like get that attention back as far as possibly making this roster.
This is funny. So Ms. Donna, you got to drag Wole on that field with you and the other reporters so he can get us the information we need, like you give us. Hashtag Wole back on the beat.
I've been trying to get Wally. He knows. At the beginning of the season, I said, "Are we going to see you out at training camp?" I said, "Are we going to see you at different times?" And he said, "Oh, sure." But I guess it was
I got to take behind. I was supposed to. Something happened.
No, I was getting ready to take up for you, Wally. You said it was some miscommunication.
Among
the group over in his court.
All right.
Somebody made a foul play. Somebody traveled, and then so a flag was thrown on the whole group. So the officials threw a flag on the whole group.
Exactly.
So I've been trying to get him out there, and hopefully, because I believe that if you're out there in the trenches and whatever, you're able to see and hear what's going on and everything. So hopefully he'll grace us with his presence at least one game. But Wally said he likes to be in the trenches there, bringing the action. So I guess he said that's the reason why he got us to
I got y'all.
What's going on. He got so many multiple eyes watching that he can call upon all the time.
Facts, I do. It's not a lie. I That's a fact. But also, like I didn't tell you though, like I got the email. I got a reply like a following day because somebody, I guess they had space, and I was too late though. I had to go to my real 9 to 5.
Yeah, so again, you got to do what he got to do.
Exactly. So I got approval, but it was too late. Put it that way. It's crazy. But yeah, I do want to see, like, for me, what I want to see tomorrow is obviously with all the rumors. I want to see Bill. I want to see more than I saw in against the Patriots, and it looked good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it looked bad. It didn't look bad. But I do want to see, because I feel like you're gonna take that position.
That play in that first, as Coach Quinn said, was sloppy.
It was sloppy. Yeah. I need to see. I want to see, because I see the potential. I see the work. I'm not gonna act like I don't see it, but I do want to see. I want to see, like, I got it. I'm like, all right, that's a starter. Like when I see Travion Henderson for like the Patriots, I see a starter. Like I see a star. Like I don't see a star. I see a star. Like when I see even the kid from the Raiders, I now granted these guys are picked higher. But when I see him, that's a starter. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I want to see a starter, not because I feel like this person doesn't fit the system or this, that, and the other. Like, I want to see what everybody else is kind of put out there. You know what I mean? So that's where I want to see. So so I'm gonna be looking at him. Like, I want to see the 20-yard run. I want to see the 15-yard. I want to see why he fits this system so much better than the other backs.
With the starting offensive line.
With the starting offensive line.
So
I want to see him with the starting offensive line. That's what I want to see.
Because he showed some flashes against New England where he ended up he only picked up 1 yard, but it was the second effort. Mm-hmm. And I see his cutback moves and everything. Mm-hmm. He's a true running back. I mean, he's really gifted.
Yes.
I mean, I'm wanting to see him with that starting offensive line. And how does he look there? But again, I told you, I want to see how they utilize their running backs on Monday night. Mm-hmm. Who's going to get some play time early on? Mm-hmm. And how because look, you got a running back room that you got Brian Robinson trying to get some touches. Mm-hmm. You got Austin Eckler. You know what you got in those two players. So you still want to see with this new offensive line, even those guys. Of how they're going to run and everything. So I would like to see all the running backs tomorrow. I think we'll get to see most of them, but I want to see on the first quarter, or how long that offense, the first team offense is going to be in, what running backs is going to be in the backfield, and who's going to be getting a lot of those touches.
Mike, Donna said like she's hoping for a half, but she thinks they'll probably go a quarter. She's hoping for a half. She would like for it to be a half though.
Really, I really would.
I think Donna wasn't. I saw the report. I think Candy reported it. I think like is Bill wearing the black, like the non-contact jersey? Was he wearing that today or something in practice?
He was wearing that in practice on.
Yeah. So is he? So will he play? Will Bill play?
I'm not for sure. Totally, he was in there. So
okay, he's in there. Okay, all right.
He was at practice running. He was in when he was in all the black.
Yeah, all black. Okay.
So he was in practice participating on. I was going to say, when was the last time we was there? Saturday.
Oh, Saturday. That's Saturday. I'm sorry, I got my days. Sorry, Saturday. I meant Saturday. Sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, Mike Paul said he's playing. He believes he's playing. I mean, I hope I want to see him play.
No, also, I was saying that I'm almost for sure he is playing because he wasn't set out. They didn't set him out on Saturday.
Got you. All right, so what about?
I don't know why he was wearing all black, but he was in all black.
Okay, that's interesting. So I would say, for me, another thing is like I want to see safety play. I want to see Reeves play more. I think Reeves plays like he's the best on this team, other than Quan, is the best at playing safety. I feel that's how much I like Jeremy Reeves at safety. He does everything right.
I mean, Percy Butler, you can't leave him out because I think Percy is really solid too. Jeremy Reeves got a lot of looks last week in there at safety and everything. So that's the reason why I said the safety room is pretty good across the board because like I said, Will Harris, Quan Martin, like you said, Jeremy Reeves. I mean, that whole group is just a solid group. So, you like to have all those problems. And then, exactly Jeremy Reed's playing special teams and so forth. So it's hard to get a lot of touches, but I have seen Jeremy Reed. It looks like he's playing a little bit more. And then, like I said, Percy Butler, you got to throw him in there too.
Donna, Donna, I love you so much, but I'm just not a Percy Butler supporter. I'm not personally, but I get it. Like I this is the thing. So I want people to notice about me, like the Percy Butler, because I like.
Hey, they said he could be a starter somewhere else.
I know they say a lot. They always say that. I know they say it. When I look at Jeremy, when I look at Percy, I'm like, because when they drafted Percy, full transparency. When they drafted Percy, I wanted Percy to start. Like I did like Percy a lot when Ron drafted him, and I was like, yo, he has so much like God-given ability from the tape I saw, and he's fast. But then when he got out, my issue with him is that when in coverage, he gets lost a lot. Like he gets lost a lot. Last year, he got lost a lot in coverage. Like I don't know. Like now.
But again, give him the benefit of the doubt with this new defensive, coaching staff.
Yeah.
You're learning, that their whole scheme and whatever. So you're still grasping that a little bit last year. Yeah. My thing this year is for all those players that was in that system for the first time last year. Even Quan Martin was in it for the first time last year. I want to see how those players within that was there last year. Sure. What steps have they made this year? Sure. Is a Percy Butler, just like you said, not lost this year where he may have been last year?
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Bruce says, "In the first time I found you." Oh, okay. It's the first time I found you guys. I appreciate it. How do I favorite this or market? Oh, mark so that anytime you guys are on, I can watch. Just hit the notify button on YouTube. The notification button, and we'll pop up the bell, and we'll pop up. Appreciate you, Bruce. Appreciate you, because Donna's awesome. That's why you found this because of Donna. Because Donna's awesome.
And also, I didn't even mention Noah. So I mean, you guys.
Oh, they mentioned Noah. Yeah, he played a lot. That first preseason game, which always is like a scare factor for me. Like a guy.
No, but he actually has.
He looked good though. He looked
looked better this year than he did last year.
Yeah, he looked good.
I think that he's improved. They said that he's just got to just play and not think so much. Just go out there and be sure of his game, and you're seeing that. I said I'm gonna get his name right, and I was practicing all last week. But I said before I interview him, I'm gonna have his last name down pat.
I'm gonna know his name. I mean, I should know he's Nigerian. He's Igbo though, so I think he's Igbo, so it's different. So I have to kind of like I'll be able to say it. I just have to like look at it. I never stare at his name. So I always go with all for everybody. Noah I never looked at the real spelling of his name. I need to go and
I told somebody, I said I'm going to perfect people's name because last year I basically got the wide receiver's name as far as
Victor,
Olamide Zacchaeus. So I finally got him because I told him, I said, no, I'm not going to call you OZ. I'm going to get your name right. And then I got that before the season even started. So Nora, I should have that. And I can say it when I'm not really put on the spot of thinking about it.
That's a problem. It's when you got to interview him or something. You got to think about it.
By the time I interview him, I'm going to get it right.
I know the feeling, Donna. I know the feeling. Paul said, Donna, who you think might be a surprise cut? Who would be your surprise? If it's a guy that you feel like would be a shock value type of cut, who do you feel like that may be?
It's hard to say. I'm not for sure, across the board, because I'm not looking at any of the main people that I think make this team. I'm not looking at any of them being cut. So, they said Lattimore on Chase and also Trey Amos. I want to see both Lattimore on Chase, and I almost want to see Trey Amos on him too. I want to see both of them.
I think either way, it don't even matter. I think you're getting tested either way. Let me be real. Like, I feel like you're getting if I feel like Chase will get Amos. Amos will get Chase on him. I think that's going to be a play. But either way, it works. Like, he's being tested by top tier wide receivers. That's all.
Yeah, I think both. But as far as going back to the question, as far as who being cut, I don't see any of the main starters. I mean, some of those guys being cut. But I don't know, because somebody is going to be cut. a main name that we don't even look at. But I still need to go through this game before I started looking at my roster and crossing out people. I think it's too early for me to look at that because I still think that people are trying to jar for this team. I mean, the main starters is main starter. You ain't gonna be cut. But like I said, the wide receiver room and the running back room, I want to just see how that materializes because somebody's going to be put on the practice squad to save some of these players. So it's too early for me to say who I think or, that surprise cut is because I haven't seen enough to say, ooh, this person has really stepped up and I think this guy is in trouble. I haven't seen that yet.
Got you. To say Nubia, Ade, I can't see it. I'm gonna say you're Nigerian. It says Ade. That's a Nigerian name. So it says Donna. In practice, are Amos and Lattimore staying on one side? Do they switch?
I think they're moving them around and everything.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, because you can use Trey Amos in so much, but I think the two players that they're really rotating more so is Mikey because Mikey can play inside out. Because Jonathan Jones can play.
He can play.
Yeah, he can play both too. But I think that Mikey is playing a lot of inside. But I think they're switching them all around on both sides. That's the good thing about the cornerback room and everything. But I think that I see Trey Amos and Lattimore more so on the left side.
Okay.
A little bit more there. I know in joint practice and so forth. So I want to see how they really rotate them tomorrow. That's going to be fun to see how they line them up.
Can't wait. Todd says he has a question. Is Noah really on the bubble? I'm thinking Noah. Has Jones played that well during training camp? He hasn't played in any preseason games.
I think that both of those players that they both make the team. I think Jonathan Jones and Noah makes the team.
Okay.
I don't think that that's an area that you'll see the cuts because Jonathan Jones brings another element. So in that room, you're talking about depth too. So I don't see any one of those two players not being on this roster.
Yeah, I agree. And also, I think George has updated us. It says touchdown pass for Caleb Williams to Olamide. Hey,
we called out a lot of things.
We did. Olamide got a touchdown. Like Donna just by mentioning his name, good things happen for Olamide Zacchaeus.
He'll have a much different quarterback with Caleb Williams than he had with
they're much different. But best for both, man. Like,
exactly.
Caleb is a local. Therefore, I always support local kids anyway. So best for both, man. So we'll see how that works out. But hey, Don, this has been dope. Glad you was on to grace us with your appearance. But before we end this show, like every time, Donna, just plug all your socials for me. Or you want me to plug it for you? Because that's how we kind of do this.
Well, let me just say this. Instagram, I'm good. If Wally probably be much happier because I really have been posting a lot on X.
You have, though.
Since
I'm loving it.
Last week since the New England game, I've been giving y'all hot stuff.
You have?
So I've been posting a lot on that. So it's Donna Hopkins _ on X, DJ Hop 32 on Instagram, and those are the key areas. Hit me, and then you can also look at our podcast where I put a lot of stuff going on through the season, during the week as far as in the minute, and then Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus on Mid-Atlantic Sportsnet. You can go to our YouTube channel just in case you don't get Mid-Atlantic Sportsnet. And that can be seen on Mondays and Wednesdays at 10:30 p.m. and also 9 a.m. on Saturday morning. So we are ready to rock it.
Yeah, I know.
Already been rocking it.
It's already coming.
It's already coming. You didn't even have to help me that time.
I didn't. Donna, I'm so proud of you.
I'm learning, fans.
You're learning. She is learning. Also, it's crazy because your stuff is starting to go viral. I think your interview with Kinlaw went viral to a point. One of my boys, who I grew up with, put it in our Instagram chat, and I was like, "Oh, that's Donna. Look at Donna."
Wow,
Yeah.
that means I'm doing something
You're
right.
doing something right, Donna.
My philosophy during training camp was to interview always players that nobody talks to. Those and my strategy going into this season was to interview a lot of the free agents that they signed this year, and also the second tier players. I wanted to see how they elevated their game. And then the rookies. I mean, I can get all the other players throughout the season, but for you to get to know these other players that are jarring for positions, I thought that was T-cap coverage and everything. And I had a good talk with Bill after the game last week that, it got a lot of juice on X and everything because trying to give y'all all the stuff. And then the fun stuff with Jayden and Mikey and Bobby last week kind of like was just fun in general. So, hopefully, I appreciate that all as far as the interview questions and everything. I try my best to dig into, the player, within what I'm seeing in camp, what they're hoping to bring to this team, and also letting fans know the players a little better outside of football. Johnny Newton, I had such a great time of interview with him. He was one of my favorite ones because I think that he's gotten a little more confidence.
Oh, you can see it.
He's more relaxed and whatever. I said, who knew Johnny was that funny?
Yeah.
Although I think I'm the better basketball player than Johnny.
Donna, that's how you are. You're so confident. Like, that's
I don't care that Johnny is that big and whatever.
No, you don't care. Donna don't care about that smoke.
I just bust him up from the outside. I ain't even going to try to take him in for him to block my shot. But he did say he got quick feet and he was a running back. And that's what, that's what I want to see from him this year is that quickness used in his second year. I thought that he had a good for first preseason game.
And great game. I was so happy for him.
So I'm really looking for him to step up because he's got a great personality, hands down.
Mike said, this is the place to see the greatest reporters and good people in the live to spend every week watching. You got great report. We always got like Donna, Candy, Lake. We got good ones. Felix, we got good ones, man. We got good ones.
Those are good people. I didn't even say my name. I'm talking about the other people.
Donna, you got to include yourself. Donna,
those are my cool peeps. Those are family.
Yeah, you gotta include yourself. That's a guarantee. I said this to Donna when I first met Donna. Like Donna, he said, Donna, I remember you on the Tony McGee show back in the day. Like I told Donna this
HTS, we started
HTS, exactly. I told Donna, like when the first time I met Donna, I was like, I was staring at Donna. I was like, I know you from somewhere. Where do I know you from? And then I was like, and then she said her name. I said, oh, I watched that show.
41 years and running. So we're going into our 41st season and, it's been fun. And so we try to bring you all the action and whatever. I got to keep those guys in line. It's kind of hard, but HTS, still.
Yes, like HTS.
Yes, HTS. We started there.
Redskins magazine. Oh, yeah.
And we had to change the name from Redskins magazine because of Dan Snyder not wanting anybody to use that name unless you paid him. So we just went to Guru, where it's Tony McGee's.
That is crazy. Well, folks, I appreciate you all pulling up. Always appreciate Donna. This has been a tremendous show. I've been very happy with this show. And you got me to apologize about the whole B-Rob situation. You know what I mean?
Don't do it. He shouldn't have did it yet.
I did it. I had to do it.
He should have waited until it was.
I should wait. You know what? You're right. I should wait till it's official. But now
you may have to come back and say y'all need to apologize.
No, Donna. That's the play. Okay. Let me do it now. That's the play. Let me do it now. Then when they come back around,
that's right.
Folks got to do it for me.
Why he just wants to throw it back into y'all's face?
So I gotta, then I can say I've already apologized. You know what I'm saying? Like I've already apologized. So I just now, if it comes back, then these folks got to apologize to me. So it all works, Don. It all works. So anyway, I appreciate everybody pulling up, tuning in. Anyway, you've been listening to the Urban Sports Say for ages. Yiddig deuces. We are out. Peace.
Swag. to the swag.